Okay, so if you're working a 9 to 5 job that you're not satisfied with, I'm going to tell you exactly how I went from starting as a software engineer at Amazon to just 9 months later being able to quit on the spot and own a business that makes me millions of dollars per year. And the first thing that you have to understand or you have to do is you have to switch your mindset about just 9 to 5 and corporate life in general. Like, I know they make it seem like a family or it's all nice and games or whatever, but the reality is that they don't give a fuck about you. Like, to them, your salary and your benefits are just line item expenses that they're trying to cut, or the second they can by replacing with AI, outsourcing the labor to some other country for cheaper, or just cutting your role altogether, they are going to do that because they're in the interest of making money. If that means just firing you one day randomly, no notice, no nothing, just telling you good luck, bye, they are going to do that. And people like to pretend like that wouldn't happen to them because they're friends with their coworkers or their manager's cool. But the reality of the environment like a corporation creates is that if your coworker, if he has to fuck you over or talk shit about you or do something so he gets to keep his job and like you're the one that gets laid off, he's going to do that. Or if he has to say something so he's the one that gets promoted and you don't, he is going to do that or they're going to do that. Same thing with your manager. If they have to take credit for like something you probably worked hard on so they can look better and they can get promoted, they're going to do that. Or if they have to throw you under the bus, right, to make you look like shit so like they can get heat off their back from their managers, they are going to do that. That's just the reality of it. So once you understand this about like your 9 to 5 and just switch your thinking about a corporation, it just makes things so much easier moving forward because you can just decide for yourself, okay, well, they're doing what's best for them. So I need to do what's best for me and not what's best for this fucking corporation that doesn't really care about me. And like this is something that I've always understood, but it was only made more clear to me the more time I spent time in like these corporate environments. Like I'll just give you an example. Like I was working as an intern for Amazon in the summer of 2022. And then they like I did a good job. So like, oh Julian, like we want to give you a return offer so you can start with us full time when you graduate May of 2023, right? But then literally like a few months before I was set to graduate and like I thought I was gonna start at Amazon and be good, they were like, oh, never mind. Like, we actually have to delay your job offer by like 6 to 8 months because blah, blah, blah. Just a bunch of bullshit reasons. The real reason is that the economy at that time was shit. And they were just kind of unsure if they could justify paying my salary or not, or they were like wanted to push it off until the future, right? That's what they were actually saying by that. And they kind of just fucked me over in the process because, like, imagine like you're a student set to graduate with a return offer, so you haven't been applying, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, you may or may not have an offer in 6 to 8 months. Good luck, right? Again, because they're just acting in their own interest, right? So like you have to do the same thing. So what do I do? Like as soon as that happened, I just started applying to a bunch of software development jobs. Because I was like, well, I don't really know if I'm gonna have an Amazon offer. And even if I do, who gives a fuck? I'll just quit this job, stack up some money in the meantime, and I'll be fine. So eventually I got a job working like as a software engineer. I didn't tell them about my Amazon offer. Of course fucking not. Like, well, who would hire me like if they knew I had an offer I was probably gonna leave for it and like by the end of the year. And also just like you have to do what's best for yourself. And if that means like you have to go in the interview and not I'm not telling you to bullshit, but just be exceedingly confident for no reason, then yeah, go ahead and do that. Like in the interview, like they were like a shipping and manufacturing company. They were asking me all these questions. We've had experience with this coding language, this framework, like these types of systems. I was like, yeah, of course I do. I know all about this. Like I worked on something exactly like this for my senior project. And like, did I? Of course fucking not. But if you just go in there, be exceedingly confident and you're like, okay, I'm just trying to get a job to get paid and then get out. It's much easier to just go in there and do that because you're just doing what's best for you. And like even in the negotiations for this job I was only going to have for 6 months, I was still in there yeah, I think I'm really specialized for this role. I think I'm the perfect fit. And I don't think there's anybody else really like me. So I want 10, I want 15K more. And they just agreed to it. Like you just have to do what's best for you. And then when I started that job, it was like a medium-sized company. So anybody that's worked for like a company that size knows that like there's usually one guy that kind of knows everything. Without him, like the whole company kind of falls apart. So when I got hired, they're like, again, just because I was really confident on the interview, they were like, oh, Julian, we think that you'd be really talented, a great fit. And basically it was because there was this guy named John. And John was like that guy that does everything and knew everything. Without him, the whole company just falls apart. And he was set to retire in like 6 months. So they were like, Julian, we think that you're going to be our next John. So we need you to work one-on-one with him and kind of learn everything from him so you can kind of hold things down when he retires. I was like, I mean, I knew full well I was probably going to leave, but I was like, okay, yeah, sure. So like for a good portion of my time there, like for a few months, I spent like just on these one-on-one Zoom calls with John, and they were telling me to take notes, report all that shit. I wasn't doing that shit. I was just there with John, like on one monitor, and then like Minecraft, or like just searching up business ideas and researching shit on the other. Because again, I'm just doing what's good for me. And then like so I worked that job just bullshitting around with John for a few months, and then by the end, like by the middle of it, eventually John retired, and then they started expecting things of me. So this is where it started getting a bit more difficult. But again, I was exceedingly confident, just like, yeah, I got this controlled. So they asked me questions. I was like, yeah, John mentioned something about this. I'm gonna look into it. Or like they would assign me, and then like towards the end, I remember they assigned me like a big ass project, like to redo like their whole shipping system. And again, just do what's best for you. Like at that point, I knew, okay, I'm probably gonna have my Amazon job. So I'm just gonna buy a bit more time to keep getting paid. So then, like I told them, okay, I know exactly what to do. I need a few weeks, blah, 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 blah. Just bullshitting. And then by the end of it, eventually got to a point where they actually wanted to see code and see some demos. And yeah, I actually did a demo day. It was fucking terrible. Like the code didn't work. It was atrocious. But again, I just told them that night, or like that afternoon, I was like, guys, I know exactly what went wrong today. Don't worry. John mentioned something about this. I can fix it, guys. Don't worry. Tomorrow we're gonna do a demo. It's gonna go perfect. It's gonna be beautiful. You're all gonna love it, right? And then that night I just sent like HR an email saying I quit. Like, and then like a week later I was in California starting my Amazon job. Like it's not a big deal as you make it out to be, right? You can just do these things that are best for you. And like, yeah, my manager was blowing up my phone, like multiple managers were blowing up my phone, like texting, like, oh, how could you do this? Blah, blah, blah. I just blocked. Again, just do what's best for you. Cause I know if it meant firing me, to save their job, they would have done it. So I was just doing what was best for me. All right. And that example is like kind of extreme. And that's just like something I did. You don't have to do that. But you just have to like switch your mindset and stop viewing your job as like a family or something you're going to be at for the rest of your life, because that's probably not going to be the case, or it's not going to be if like you actually make something and work hard and do something else. All right. The second thing you have to do is deliberately be mediocre at best at your job. Like at Amazon, I took that job more seriously because this was now like the job that was paying my bills and was like funding my like business ideas, etc. But like I was mediocre at best. Like my code was buggy, it was shitty, it was lazy, but it wasn't like bad enough to the point where they're gonna fire me. I did the bare fucking minimum because like again, it's not something I want to be at for the rest of my life. I'm just in the bare minimum to get paid and keep moving forward. And here's the reality of like these bigger corporations. If you're mediocre at like just as your baseline, you're probably gonna be fine and not get fired. Because the reality is like at these bigger corporations, they're just too big to notice like any of these people that are like underperforming. And like I know you might go in there and think like, oh, I want to be a top performer. Like for what, right? Like let's say you're a top performer. The only thing that you really get is more work assigned to you. More people expect shit. You get bigger responsibilities. And for what? Like a 5 to 10K promotion at the end of the year. Like nowadays in my business, I just want to give context. Like I have days where I make that like 5K like or more in a day. So which is more worthwhile, like being a top performer at your job or spending all like your extra brain power and time instead thinking, how the fuck do I get out and build something for myself? And the other thing too is that if you're just like a nicer guy to be around, like your manager likes you, your coworkers like you, like my manager and my coworkers thought probably, okay, this guy's a shitty coder. He's not going to be like a software development manager, but he's a nice guy, so we'll keep him around. Like that's probably what they were thinking. If you're just a nicer person to be around, like you can get away with just being mediocre at your job because people would rather have you there and then have some other guy that's maybe a better coder, but just an asshole to be around. So that's the first thing you're going to do. Be purposely mediocre at your job so you have more like brain power and time to focus on your own business. The second thing you're going to do is live cheaply so you have more excess income to fund and like try various business ideas. Like for me, even though I was making like 200K a year from my Amazon job, I didn't live like it. I lived in like a shitty studio apartment that was like $1,800 a month. And it was just terrible. It was old. It was cramped. Like there was no hot water, etc. And the car I drove was like a car I bought in college at an estate sale. like from a lady that had just died, and her son was like bidding off her car to the highest bidder. I bought it because like it was old and reliable. That's why I bought it. And then I lived cheaply. I didn't really go out. I didn't travel. I didn't like buy anything really expensive because in my head, I'd rather use this extra money to take swings on business ideas because I know if one hits, then it'll pay off big time. And that's literally what happened, right? Like now I can do whatever I want. I can travel wherever I want. I can afford like basically anything I would realistically want because one of those business ideas worked and I was willing to like thug it out or live at a lower quality of life while I was doing this. Okay. Because I know lots of people get like their first corporate job or job out of college and they think, oh, I got a big boy job or like a big girl job. And then they start doing shit like getting a loan out to get like a nicer car, like a Tesla, or living in a super nice area because they feel like, oh, well, I deserve it because I'm here and I'm a lawyer or I have this job. No, if you do that, then it's just going to give you way less money and opportunity to try different business ideas. Like you're more like it's going to keep you trapped in that. Ironically, instead of just maybe like living a bit harsher for a year or two, and then making your way out, like just because one business idea that you did ends up fucking working. And I know I spent most of this video like talking shit about a 9 to 5 job, but the reality is like it's not the worst thing in the world. Like you're getting paid, you can probably afford your basic necessities and be okay. But I'm just talking to the people that really want something else for their life and do kind of view themselves as just a little bit trapped. But waking up every day and being like, oh my God, I hate my life. Like I'm not where I want to be. That's probably not ideal because the reality is that, yeah, if like you view your 9 to 5 as a prison, maybe it is for you. But they give you a salary, and that salary is your shovel to like dig your way the fuck out and actually do the things you want to do with your life and live the way you want to live. Right? Because here's the reality. Like starting a business is hard, it's difficult, it's probably gonna take you some time, probably gonna take you a few tries. And you're probably gonna lose some money in the process. But I guarantee you, if like you actually do what I'm saying in this video and you try out like 5 to 10 business ideas over the next year, you're gonna learn shit. You're gonna learn a lot, right? And chances are, like, one's gonna fucking work. And how much better would your life be if you actually just did that and took that step, right? It's just a matter of your risk tolerance or your stress tolerance. But you need to start today. You need to switch your mindset about the 9 to 5 thing today and just implement some of these things. And pretty soon, like you'll learn a lot more about business and hopefully eventually find one that works for you.